If you want to know about homeschooling in California, keep watching. Hi, I'm Mallory and I have 3 boys. They're 5, 10, and 12, and I live in California. I've been homeschooling for 8 years and 3 or 4 of those have been in California. So I'm going to talk about the laws, homeschooling in California, the charter school options in California, as well as just the overall culture. Laws. What's up with California? Is it hard for homeschoolers? Surprisingly, it's not. It's really not hostile to homeschool in California. There are a lot of other states, including New York, where I lived for a little bit, that make it a lot harder to homeschool. So California is actually not that bad to homeschool in. So there are 4 ways to legally homeschool in California. Number 1, you can fill out a PSA, which stands for Private School Affidavit. So this is filed between October 1st and October 15th each year. You can fill out this form online each year. It's easy and it offers the greatest educational freedom. Number 2, you can enroll in a PSP, which stands for Private Satellite Program. So you would be under a private school umbrella in this option. Number 3, you can homeschool under a credentialed teacher or private tutor. So families hire a teacher that follows certain requirements. And number 4, you can enroll in a publicly funded, home-based independent study program or a charter school. So these programs require compliance with your local public school. So you don't need to have a college degree or a teaching credential to be able to homeschool your kids in California. You just have to be able to teach them. So when should you begin teaching your child? The compulsory school age for children is age 6 by September 1st through 18. So if your child is turning 6 on, say, September 5th of that year, then you are not required to report anything to the state. If you fill out the private school affidavit, the PSA, you are not required to submit any lesson plans or sample work to any authority like the school district or have to have your child tested annually. But if you're going with the PCP, the private tutor, the ISP, or the charter school option, they each have their own requirements. So you just have to contact that specific one that you're interested in to get more details. So what records are you required to keep as a private homeschooler? Number 1, a copy of your PSA. Number 2, your attendance record. Number 3, a list of faculty and their qualifications. So basically that's your resume, and if your husband is the president, maybe his resume. Number 4, a list of courses your private homeschool offers. So like language arts, math, history, science, like that. Number 5, health examination or waiver. Number 6, any immunization records, and you can also have a immunization waiver on file as well. So those are the laws. So they're very, very basic. Pretty easy to do. Just fill out your PSA, and if you're going to privately homeschool in California, I do recommend getting an HSLDA membership. So this is Homeschool Legal Defense Association. So basically you pay, I don't know what it is now, it might be $100, might be a little over $100. And if you join a local homeschool community, sometimes you can get a code to get a discount on that HSLDA membership. But basically it's retaining a lawyer for you in case someone ever comes to your door. You have that peace of mind. So if you do have like CPS at your door one day, and I have only heard of this happening once in all of my years in California, and they're at your door, they're wanting to come in your house and you're scared. If you have this HSLDA membership, you can just dial up HSLDA. They will get a lawyer on the phone. You can put them on speaker and they can communicate with the person at your door, and then they will help you step by step through the whole process. They also send email updates so you can just become aware of legislation in your area and what's going on across the country and sometimes even around the world, just so that you have a pulse on homeschool news and events and what's going on, so that you may not be so surprised. And also, they are great at letting you know what your rights are. If you're going to homeschool in California, I recommend this membership. When I was homeschooling privately in Texas, I didn't have it because I didn't have that fear. In California, I am a little bit more fearful. I recommend getting a CHIA membership. It's a Christian homeschooler organization specifically for California. They put on a fabulous homeschool conference every summer, and they give email updates as well. If you're looking for a homeschool support group in your area, you can check the CHIA website for recommendations, because these are going to be Christian. There are a lot of homeschoolers that are secular in California as well. So that is one thing that you need to be aware of if you're looking for groups and resources in California. Okay, option number 2, charter schools. So we are currently a part of a charter school. We've been in one for 2 years. So I've privately homeschooled in California and have also done the charter school route. What's the difference? Because I know when I first moved to California, I was overwhelmed with all of the options. So basically, with a charter school, you are under the public school umbrella. So you have a HST or homeschool teacher above you. And in my case, I am with Heartland Charter Schools. They have teachers all over, and you don't have to live in that county in Kern County to be a part of Heartland Charter School. And there are other charter schools as well, but that's my experience. So I'm going to share with you my charter school experience. So I have this homeschool teacher that I communicate with, and I do have a meeting with her about once a month, and we talk about how the boys are doing. I give her samples. I have to provide a sample for each child in one subject area, and those subject areas rotate. So for 1 month, it might be math, and then the next one is language arts, then the next one science, next one history, and then it repeats again. So we submit 8 samples, one from each subject per semester, and there are certain guidelines on that, like it can't be religious, but it's very simple. It's pretty easy to follow. And even if you are using a Christian curriculum, you just make sure that that sample that you're submitting is not Christian in itself. People who want to use like Apology of Science, they can still do this. They might just print out a science worksheet that's not Christian centered, or you could retype the worksheet and just remove the scripture and God from the sample before you turn it in. And in exchange for that, you do get funds to use. So they give a sizable amount of money, I'm talking thousands of dollars per student to use on allowable resources. That could be sports, that could be swim lessons, it could be horseback riding lessons, music lessons, art class. It could be a tutoring. You can use it for curriculum and books as long as they are not Christian. So a lot of the curriculum that we use are not actually Christian, like teaching textbooks, Matthew C, those are not Christian. So we can use charter school funds to purchase those things. We can also buy All About Reading, All About Spelling, IEW, a lot of the things that I love. Even Story of the World is on there. As long as it's not Christian, you can use those funds. And why do you ask? Because you cannot use public funds to buy Christian things. It's just written in the code of the government, and there's nothing we can do about it. But there are ways kind of around that. So if you want to use your funds for lessons and then you buy Good and the Beautiful because you can't buy Good and the Beautiful using funds, then it's still a win-win. You're still using it. And you can also buy electronics like computers and iPads. I have a friend that has a 3D printer. You can buy a lot of these educational kits like KiwiCo kits and little passport subscriptions. You can buy a lot of these subscriptions using the public school funds. As long as it is educational and it's not Christian, then you can probably use it. So that's the way that it works. And you also have to do standardized testing if you're part of a charter school. So we have to do 2 STAR 360 exams. So it's just kind of like a benchmark exam. And then they are subject to do the state testing at the end of the school year. It's not really that big of a deal. It's not fun, but it's part of the deal in exchange for the funds that we get. And I also get like speech for my 2 younger kids. So if I was privately homeschooling, I would have to pay for speech out of my own pocket because the local public school doesn't feel the need to offer that to my child. You do get extra help if you need it. If you have a special needs child and you need an occupational therapist and speech and all these other things, you can't get those if you're privately homeschooling. Unless there's a workaround, as far as I know, if you want those extra helps without having to pay out of pocket, you're going to want to maybe go through a charter school. All of that to say, do I recommend a charter school? Well, I think it depends on your situation. It depends on your child. But so far, we really like it. It's helped us in achieving some of our financial goals by having that extra help so that I can buy some materials, I can get classes, I can get free speech classes for my kids. For us, it's great. I think the teacher that's assigned to you makes a big difference. I love my teacher. We get along really great and she's helpful and I feel like she's in my corner and she is a licensed teacher. So sometimes if I am feeling like, okay, I really don't know, is my child struggling with this thing or is he on track? And more often than not, she's actually telling me to relax, that they're doing great and I'm doing great. All that to say, I think that if you're wondering, I highly encourage you to pray about your situation. In our situation, this is what has worked for us. It does change a little bit as you get to high school. I will probably do a whole separate video on that because my oldest will be in 8th grade this coming year, so high school is on the horizon. And so high school is different, whether you're doing private or charter. That's a whole nother ball game. So I'm specifically talking from 8th grade below. This is what the requirements are for the charter school. Lastly, I said I would talk about the culture. There are so many people that homeschool in California. Some people in other states think that everyone is liberal here, everybody is like big government and no morals, but that's absolutely not true. There are tons of homeschoolers. Are some of them secular homeschoolers? Yes, we have both Christian and secular homeschoolers here. Yes. So if, like I said before, if you're looking for a homeschool support group, looking at Facebook groups, etc., I would definitely see if you're finding the right group to match your family. And that being said, I haven't had a problem finding other Christian homeschoolers. I have found a fantastic tribe here. I don't think that if you're currently in California or you're looking at moving to California and you're afraid that you're going to be the only conservative Christian homeschooler there, that's absolutely not the case. You can find a group near you. And because the weather is so beautiful here and we have so many great places, there's so many great field trips that you can do and you get to be a part of it. And if your child was in school all day, you may not get to do those things. You can do it the way that you want. If you don't want to have to report to a teacher and do the standardized tests, then do the PSA, absolutely. But then just know you're going to pay for everything out of pocket. So it just depends on what you want. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing the charter school option. I think it actually encourages some people to homeschool that maybe wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise, because you do have that option to get that extra financial help if you need it. There are so many different groups to find. There's so many different co-ops, or if you want to do like a 1 day a week kind of drop-off program, there's just so many options to homeschool in California. If you're hesitating on homeschooling because you want your kids to do like high school sports, for example, that may not even hold you back, because a lot of those private Christian schools will let our kids join their sports teams. So just ask questions and remember that nothing is permanent. So you can try something. If it doesn't work, you can change it, even if it's mid-year. Nothing is set in stone. If you have any questions for me about homeschooling in California, or if you want to share your experience of homeschooling in California, please put it in the comments below. And any requests for any videos that you want to see, curriculum, high school, homeschooling in other states, put it down below. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.